As the global community observes the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, commemorated annually from 5th of November to the 10th of December, stakeholders have been advocating a strong commitment to free women and girls from every form of violence and abuse in the society. It is against this background that our focus on Saturday Discourse tonight is eliminating gender-based violence in Nigeria, and we have a guest in the studio to discuss it. But before then, we will as usual take the day's news. So sit back and relax while we set the ball rolling. I am Abdullah Hajia, your uncle. Beginning the news from the presidency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has forwarded to the Senate for confirmation a modified list of members of the inaugural governing board of the Northwest Development Commission, MWDC, as he nominated Honorable Emeka Atuma as chairman of the Southeast Development Commission, SEDC.
Honorable Abdulkadri S. Usman as members. The new list replaced them with Jafar Abubakar Sadiq and Yahaya Aminu Abduhadi, while the new chairman is Alhaji Lawal Samaila Abdullahi. Professor Abdullahi Shehu Maji retains his position as Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer. Other board members featured on the first list are Dr. Yahaya Umar Namahi, Yahaya Aminu Abduhadi, and Engineer Muhammad Ali Wadil, Shamsu Sule, Nasidi Ali, and Aminu Suleiman. After receiving the President's first list of nominations, the Senate adjusted the NWDC's Establishment Act to accommodate members from other geopolitical zones. President Tinubu complied with the adjustments in the new list with the following names to represent the 6 zones. They are Chukwu Chijioke, Ahmed Mohamed, Engineer Ahmed Rufai Timasaniyo, and McDonald's Michael Uyi. Others are Yemi Ola and Honorable Babatunde Dada. President Tinubu has equally appointed Honorable Emeka Atuma as chairman and Honorable Mark C. Okoye as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Southeast Development Commission, SEDC, subject to their confirmation by the Senate. Other members are Barrister Ugochukwu H. Agbala, Honorable Oke Ezinwa, Chief Hyacinth Ikpo, Honorable Donatus Eyina Nwakpa, Barrister Ifeanyi Agu, PhD, Nasiru Usman, and Hama Adama Ali Kumo. The additional nominees are Edward David Onoja, Oruru Kofri Inima, and Chief Mrs. Joke Adebayo Chukuma. Prince Obina Ibiekwehi, Executive Director, Projects, Senator Anthony O. Agbo, Executive Director, Finance and Administration, and Dr. Daniel Ikechukwu Ajoka, Executive Director, Corporate Services, are also nominated. President Tinubu reiterates his commitment to regional development and expects the new nominees, as pioneers, to utilize their wealth of experience and expertise to actualize the mandate of the 2 commissions and develop their regions.
from that, the National APC Women Advocacy Organization has launched an anti-gender-based violence campaign at Government Junior Secondary School Durumi 1, Abuja, marking the 16 days of activism. Ifoma Ojinta reports.
Speak Out was the message as the National APC Women Advocacy Organization emphasized the importance of speaking out against gender-based violence affecting both males and females, particularly these young ones.
At the end of the day, we want to see our children being nice to each other, cyberbullying, because now we're in the digital era, all these things. Let them not feel that because you are not seeing each other, then you can just like harass each other. Life has been lost because of this. So we want these children to see that what they are doing is so detrimental to the other lives, and for them to benefit from that. That children should also know issues of gender equality. So you can see there are boys and girls in the class. And it is not only girls that are violated, even boys fall victim of sodomy and all sorts of sexual and violence against women, children, boys and girls. So we are trying to do an inclusive thing, away from only bringing girls together, talking about it. The boys should also know how to respect girls. And both genders should know when a girl says no, it means no. When a boy says no, it means no.
Students learned about gender-based violence, forms, impact, myths, prevention strategies, gender roles and stereotypes, understanding their rights regardless of gender.
As a female child, you should know within you that you also have that leadership skills. You should not allow yourself to be weighed down, being intimidated by the opposite sex. That's one of the core messages we are passing to the female children, most especially.
I was so impressed when I discovered that they start telling us about their goals. And I believe if this goal will continue in real, to manifest very well.
The organization pledged continued activism beyond the 16-day initiative. Ifoma Ojinta, NTA News.
Still on the activism issue, the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Nigeria Abuja branch, has again championed the cause of protecting women's rights as the group lends voice and support to the 2024 16 days activism to end violence against women and children. The sensitization work led by branch chairperson coincides with the FIDA Abuja branch Law Week activities, where the message of love and not violence was spread. Yours sincerely brings details. Commencing the health and awareness work with aerobics, members in their numbers took part, adopting an interpersonal communication strategy to drive the message of no to all forms of harassment and violence against women and children. With the 2024 16 days activism to end violence against women still on, FIDA Nigeria Abuja branch, in solidarity with the campaign, is carrying out the message to the doorsteps of FCT residents.
That as an organization, we're saying no to all forms of violence against women and children. We're saying no to spousal battery. We're saying no to rape. We're saying no to early girl-child marriage. We're saying no to harmful traditional practices in our various communities. As a country, we're against that. That is why we have a comprehensive law against that, known as the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act.
On the long stretch of Aminu Kano Crescent Road in Wuse 2, Abuja, the campaigners engaged the public down to Emma Plaza, where the conversation was heightened, including using local languages.
We have a law that prohibits all manner of violence.
FIDA and Nigerian Bar Association will try as well as possible to create the awareness. Yes, ignorance is not an excuse before the law. So the awareness helps us to bringing it to the doorstep of our people to know the things that they are not supposed to do, violence, the things that amount to violence against women.
The commitments to the day's event climaxed with a visit to the Old People's Home, Kadu, where the center received donations of edible items, toiletries, as well as love, wrapped in care for the senior citizens. In Abuja, Abdullah Hajia, NTA News. Available records reveal a consistent rise in statistics of women as highest victims of violence globally. Concerned by this trend, international organizations have set out to commit policies and programs to stem the tide. November 25 annually marks the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Hawagimba reports on this global observance, which serves as a stark reminder of the alarming reality of women whose lives are cut short due to incidents of violence and aggression, and the need to change the narrative.
Tears, sorrow, pain, and anguish with the sad global report that a woman is killed every 10 minutes. The shocking statistics underscores the urgent need to address violence against women and girls. The 2024 theme, No Excuse, unites to end violence against women, calls for immediate action to prevent violence against women and girls. Stakeholders emphasize that there is no jurisdiction for violence against women.
We already have a legislation. We have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which has been adopted by virtually all the states in Nigeria, which already, itemizes the roles of everyone. And we know that a law is just simply a law, except when it is effectively implemented. So it is expected that stakeholders will be reminded of the critical role that they play in reducing the scourge of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria.
Yes, it has reduced well in Nigeria. However, we are still facing a lot of issues. Issues like female genital mutilation, domestic violence, and intimate partner violence, which is more predominantly rampant in urban areas in Abuja. So because of that, we took the time, work with the community leaders and sensitize the women to speak out on intimate partner violence.
Gender-based violence is something that we must have conversations about them. A lot of people hide. We have been advocating for gender-based violence for like 16 years since we started. What we have learned is that a lot of people do not speak out.
I believe we should do a lot to help women to actualize their importance in the world and reduce the violence and abuse that they experience daily.
Individuals, organizations, and governments are advised to come together to raise awareness, support survivors, and advocate for policies and programs that prevent violence against women and girls. Hawagimba, NTA News.
Thank you very much, Hawagimba, for that background report, which I think had some interesting personalities there talking about a women issue, and we're still in the 16 days of activism. And at this juncture, I'm being joined by one woman that has been also in the forefront of talking about women issue, women's rights. I have the privilege to be joined by Ambassador Zainab Mohammed. She is a women and girls advocate, at the same time, African Director for Special Projects. That's not all. She's the CEO Emerging Market Hub, all to her name. You're welcome to Saturday Discourse.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is your time. This is one period that the men are very careful so that it will not be tagged as those who are not supporting the cause of women, talking about ending gender-based violence. Now, however, so far, I know the days are still counting. Where are we today in terms of advocacy, sensitization, and creating awareness in the minds of all?
Thank you, but you don't have to be careful. because we need men to be part of the advocates. Because what we're saying is building a community. Because when a woman is complete, and what is a complete woman? A woman who has no issues around gender-based violence, sexual abuse violence. There are so many abuses, the emotional abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse, so many abuses that goes around. And this is the period, the 16 days gender-based violence activism is a United Nations days that was set aside so that we can talk about this, we can profile solutions, we can create awareness. Because sometimes things that happen, people don't think is an abuse, but it is. So once the awareness are being created, and thank you also for having us at NTA to talk about it, because this is one of the channels of doing the advocacy and creating the awareness to make people understand this is wrong, and this is how we can get it right.
If we speak to the statistics, we learn that 1 in 3 women are being, violated upon. So, how prevalent is this in Nigeria?
Very high, very, very high, and that's why at every level, from the grassroots to the urban setting, this awareness creation is being done so that we can understand. Because, like I said earlier, sometimes people don't think emotional abuse can lead to something. There's this assumption that is when I hit you that I'm abusing you. So there are so many different abuse that lead to psychological breakdown of a woman. And once a woman has a breakdown because of this abuse, one of the abuse, then the whole home setting has a dysfunctional issues. And that's why we have to continue to do this.
The women face this violent attack at the workplace, in the home, where we refer to as domestic violence. And the domestic violence seems to be more prevalent. What are we doing in terms of the network of women society, women organizations tackling or speaking to this issue? Are we getting results?
We are getting results because we are creating more awareness, not just we, the non-state actors. The Minister of Women Affairs, she went to mosques yesterday with the Muslim faithful to discuss this and create the awareness by wearing the orange the world color uniforms we're doing. And then tomorrow, Sunday, she'll be going to a church service where the Christendom are. And then this is part of the creating awareness. So we're reaching out. And it's trickling down at the state level also. So activities are being done to create a lot of awareness. And I've said it earlier, it's not when I hit you that it's just abuse. There is sexual abuse. When some people say, oh, you're my wife, so you don't have any right to say no when I want you. And there are some people who say, oh, give me my food and kick you and things like that. There are different level of abuse. It's not just when I hit you, it's not physical. And those non-physical abuse are the most dangerous abuse because a lot of the time people don't get to see it. So when we create such awareness and we talk about it, and then the woman is going through, you don't know why you are depressed, you don't know why things are happening, but then you now realize, oh, this is abuse too. I'm being financially deprived, so that's abuse. I'm being emotionally abused. I'm being mentally abused. Do you understand? So women will get to know, oh, this is abuse. Sometimes the men folk too. I had a section yesterday when the question is, what's the mindset of the man? And that's a very good question. Because sometimes you don't think it's an abuse. You think it's your right. So once period like this 16 days where different activities coming online, the minister and other non-state actors are talking about it, creating awareness and telling you, you might just be walking in your office and you see a pretty girl or something and you make some innuendos and some comments. Those are abusive things. And yeah, I know. You have to be careful because sometimes, I'll give you a case study. A boss, I keep making advances or making some silly comments because of the way a lady is dressed or the way she looks. Now, what you're doing is emotionally, you are abusing her because she's not comfortable and she can't approach you to tell you. She can't express it because of the fear So, but once we create this awareness, you who is doing it knows that this is abuse. Let me stop it. And the person on the other receiving end knows it's an abuse. Let me talk about it.
Okay, well, I know in as much as you're doing so much on the advocacy sensitization, don't you also think attention should be focused on some of our cultural values, cultural reorientation? I know there are cultural, some cultures, women go through a lot. The abuses are so, very heavy around some of our cultures. So how can you also look into that area in terms of probably getting legislation, sponsor a bill so that some of these cultural, minuses can be corrected towards this abuse?
Thank you. We talk about culture, and I think I mentioned it at the earlier opening state of our conversation. Culture tradition plays a lot of role. And thank God we have gatekeepers who are custodians of this culture and tradition. So the conversation will also stop on their bulk stuff because they need to understand where culture draws the line with abuse. And you talk about legislative or creating a policy or lobbying for the policymakers to start looking at some of these things are all there. We know the line, we have drawn the line, but once we bring in the gatekeeper, who are the custodian, traditional rulers, who are the custodians of our tradition and culture at every level of our society, regardless of where you come from, south, east, west, or north, we have traditional rulers. And they are the original custodians of the culture and tradition of that area. They need to understand where the culture draws. There's no culture in the world that tells you to hit a woman. There's no culture in the world that tells you have to deprive a girl child because she's a girl. None. It's just practices over the years. And, well, the male domineering factor, the patriarchy society that we're talking about. And we need to continue to talk about this thing until people understand this is where the culture is. Culture and tradition actually gives women a lot of rights. But when you bring in the male angle to it, that is where abuses start coming in. And sometimes do they understand this is abuse? So these are the period that we need to talk about this.
But talking about some of these cultures, and probably we're getting somewhere someday in terms of doing away with some of these cultural practices. But I know they still exist. For example, there are some cultural, norms or cultural traditions where you say, okay, a woman doesn't have a right to inherit her late father or her late husband. Or around various ceremonies, you force a woman to do what she's not supposed to do. Are these also part of the violence we're talking about?
That's abuse. That's not taking someone's right away. That's imposing something that is unhealthy. Okay, some of the culture from some of the part of Nigeria where we come from will tell you that if your husband died, then they have to wash the cups, you drink the cups, and cut your hair and things like that. That is wrong. You are actually subjecting that woman to another life of death because that's health issues. So, but a lot of policies, a lot of women have been advocating and talking about this at that cultural level. But we need to understand that our gatekeepers, our custodians of those cultures needs to come up and start being part of those that have to change that narrative.
Thank you very much. I must thank you, Ambassador Zainab Mohammed, for coming on Saturday Discourse to enlighten our view and as well as also guiding us as men to always do what is right and support the 16 days of activism talking about ending violence against women. Thank you, and we wish you well in the remainder of the days that you have to do some of these things.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me too.
Well, you're still watching Saturday Discourse. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the news continues.
Relive your delightful moments via a telecast. Tell the world what gave you your happiness or pains, and for the how, where, and why. Share your joys of coronation, chieftaincy orders, engagement parties, traditional wedding ceremonies, weddings fatiha, nikah, naming ceremony, church programs, housewarming, inaugurations, award nights, school and social events, or moments of grief like burial ceremonies with many others. Don't let your events pass and your story not be told on 7:30 p.m. on this station. Memories, making your events memorable.
On in the world of sports, more than 100 people living with disabilities this Saturday embarked on a 10-kilometer marathon to mark this year's International Day for Persons with Disabilities. Sports correspondent Francisca Bile completes the report.
It is the month of International Day for Persons with Disabilities, and as such, the Abuja Association of the Deaf, in collaboration with the United Nations Nigeria, held the maiden edition of the 2024 Abuja Inclusive Marathon to raise awareness on the need for full inclusion of persons with disabilities. The 10-kilometer marathon work kicked off from the Area 1 roundabout to the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, with the Federal Road Safety Corps, police and other agencies providing safety for the marathoners.
We want inclusion in every aspect of our hand. Therefore, where we saw people without disability who walk, who do marathon, we should not be left behind. People with disability too can be involved in everything. If they don't involve in us, we can't do it ourselves. We can organize a beautiful program. People can see that yes, there is stability in disability.
What inspires us is going to increase our mental health and also to bring our team together, everyone on board, no matter who win, who lost. No, we just want to bring the spirit of sportsmanship. As you can see, we have a lot of us here.
The lead for the United Nations Disability Inclusion Technical Group, Ineka Okafor, while commending them for coming out to participate in the exercise, notes that the UN is in full support of the community of the deaf.
We are happy to associate with you, and as I've said before, we are happy to have you this morning. We want to support you to commemorate the International Day for Persons with Disability. So thank you very much. Keep doing what you are doing.
The theme for this year's International Day for Persons with Disabilities is Amplifying the Leadership of Persons with Disabilities for an Inclusive and Sustainable Future. In Abuja, Francisca Bile, NTA News.
For staying with us. Let's do it again, same time, same station next week. I am Abdullah Hechia. Good evening.